Thousands of Tennessee National Guard troops lobby the state of Tennessee and its chief exec for help. They're among an estimated 1,000 Guard members who could be forced out of the service just in Tennessee because of a federal COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Fox 17 News' Kylie Walker tells us what Governor Bill Lee is doing to help just hours ahead of the deadline.
Hours after the rally, we received an email from the state saying they're now taking action, asking the Department of Defense to now approve individual exemptions. However, there are still a lot of unknowns. Also, keep in mind, those I spoke with today want the public to know that all of these opinions are their own. They're not reflective of the DoD, the U.S. Army, or the National Guard. As the deadline loomed, some this morning were worried about what their fate would be in the next 24 hours.
To a soldier, the hardest reality to face is that your time of service has come to an end. That reality is impossible to comprehend when it's done by force.
But in a statement to Fox 17 News, the governor's office says no one will be discharged tomorrow. All this as they await a response from the Department of Defense. According to the state, 7% of all Tennessee Guards members have yet to get vaccinated. But Captain Mickey Shelton says their numbers are as high as 10%.
Which is 400 plus service members, and that doesn't include religious or medical exemptions. So you're looking at close to around maybe 800 to 1,000 members here in our own state.
Shelton says discharging service members would leave the state in an unstable position.
We respond to natural disasters, floods, tornadoes, sometimes COVID pandemics, or look at riots sometimes. So it's so important that we don't deplete our force. You know, we are that security.
Shelton and other Guards members asked for more action from the state against the federal mandate.
All right, we're walking up the steps of the Capitol.
Unable to get him, dozens of people walked to the governor's office with a signed letter asking him to file an injunction against the DoD.
Is he saying he's less powerful than the other governors in these other 5 to 6 states that stood up against the DoD and push back against that DoD mandate?
We asked several follow-up questions to the state, asking if they will further take action against the DoD if exemptions are denied, but also what will happen with those who did not request an exemption. However, we did not hear back, and we will continue to follow up.
Would you consider changing that policy?
We began tonight with crisis in the classroom and Fox 17 News getting some action for some mid-state teachers. They will get to keep thousands of dollars right into their pocketbooks because of our 4-month-long investigation. Back in March, you may remember, we spotlighted a controversial policy that required out-of-county teachers to pay thousands in tuition for their own children to attend schools in Williamson County.
As Fox 17 News' Jackie Del Pilar explains, the school board and county commissioners, they are now changing that policy after our reporting.
Teachers tell me this was a huge financial burden on them, and they just didn't think it was morally right for their employer to take this money out of their paycheck each month. So I approached both school board and county leaders who finally decided to change that policy that's impacted Williamson County teachers for years.
A decades-old policy, now history in Williamson County schools. Out-of-county teachers have spent the last 20 years paying upwards of $4,000 a year to send their kids to WCS.
That is a policy I've even heard of before, especially with public school.
Teacher Mallory Hampton moved just over the county line in 2020. She was shocked to find out she now had to pay for her daughter to continue attending the same school where she worked.
This tuition was the highest deduction out of all of my deductions, and that really just made my blood curdle.
Mallory and other teachers started reaching out to school administrators with no success. These emails from 2019 show her colleagues' attempts to reach the former superintendent, but nothing changed. That is until this spring, when they started sharing their stories with Fox 17 News.
I was like, I can't sleep another night if I don't say something.
I checked county documents and found teacher tuition generates about $300,000 per year, a small fraction of the school's $400 million budget, but a financial burden on a new teacher. I reached out to WCS administrators asking why this policy was in place and whether they'd consider changing it. A spokesperson told me it was a county commissioner policy. So I reached out to county commissioners, but those who responded put the responsibility back on school board members.
Would you consider changing that policy?
Sure, I would. I mean, if the school board sent us a resolution asking us to change it, if they had good reasons for it.
I brought that feedback to the school board. Finally, a month after our first report, the board voted to change the policy. Teachers with 5 or more years experience will no longer pay tuition for their kids. And those with less than 5 years experience will pay half of what they're paying now, starting at $2,000 a year, then paying less each year. Commissioners approved the new budget this week, including those changes.
Do you think our reporting here at Fox 17 helped spur this change?
Oh, absolutely. I said all the time, I said, the media was the reason why this is a change.
Mallory says this will help countless teachers moving forward.
Thank you. Because if it was not for you and was not for the news story and your work and your investigation, like I think that we would still be, peddling on about this.
Teachers will see the benefits of this decision starting this school year.
Businesses told me today they're concerned about Nashville's reputation. They want families visiting this city, but they say that there needs to be more enforcement to stop this illegal and deadly activity.
No, you want a little snug on your forehead.
Francisco Andrade has worked at Big Time Boots for 5 years and has lived in Nashville for 25 years. He says Nashville is a very special place.
It's just the Southern charm, the music, the atmosphere. It's just a great city.
But Andrade says he's concerned about the city's reputation because he says drugs are being sold right in front of his business on Broadway.
Just people selling openly. It's bothersome. We like the visitors, we like the tourists, but it's not a side of the city we like to showcase.
We reached out to Metro Police and they say they have a new initiative where they're trying to crack down on this persistent issue. Officers seized more than 4 pounds of fentanyl-laced meth and 25 grams of cocaine also laced with fentanyl. And it only takes this small amount of fentanyl to kill someone. Police say this is one of the many cases where a significant amount of deadly drugs were destined for Nashville's streets.
I am concerned about them being sold nationwide openly. My 5-year-old daughter doesn't know if somebody is giving her Tylenol or aspirin.
Andrade says he'd like to see more police stopping these drug exchanges.
We just don't see it gets enforced very much. Openly selling, either drugs or illegal sale of alcohol on the sidewalks.
So he says employees and tourists can feel safe and want to come back to Nashville.